Scope creep. It doesn't have to be a battle. What's up, everybody? Mel here again with Sunrise Compass. Scope creep is common on pretty much every project, and it manifests itself in different ways. Sometimes it can be really obvious, like a new IT initiative, or can be a little harder to spot, like a slow drip increase on reporting requirements. Sometimes we say, yes, we're going to go for it, and we use the new scope. Sometimes we can defer it, but either way, it's all about communication. So I brought in Mr. Alex Copeland over here, a director of consulting at Sunrise. He's a big deal, right? This guy knows his stuff, to see how he deals with it on projects here at Sunrise. So what's up, Alex?
Hey, Mel, great to be here. Great to see everyone and really be able to take us on this journey.
So when a new request pops up, new scope, what's step number one?
We really need to define, is this truly a requirement or is it an ask? And defining a requirement takes three major steps. One, is this necessary? Two, is this achievable? And third, is this measurable? If the new requirement satisfies all three of those items, all three of those factors, then we know that it is truly a requirement and we may have some scope that's going to be increasing on the project.
What are some pointers on when you're like caught in the moment with possible scope creep?
The first piece is to not solution on the fly, to intake information. If there's something new that we're not expecting, let's hear our customer or hear the person who's giving those new requirements, that potential scope creep. So that's the first piece, is hearing. The second piece is to work internally. There are probably factors of this new request that involve other team members or other aspects of the project as a whole. So we need to consolidate and work with our team to make sure what other concepts or items are affected by this. And the third piece is to evaluate those three major points. Is this, again, necessary, achievable, and measurable?
Let's think about it from the customer perspective. How are they approaching scope creep?
For much of this, they want to look at the cumulative effect of what this scope creep may mean. If the scope is not increased for the project, then what are the effects on the business overall? Is this something that can be sustained or really dealt with if we don't have a scope expanded? And if we do have an expansion of scope, again, what are the effects that are happening? Is it a project increase in budget? What are the effects outside of just this piece of one requirement that's expanding? And really, in the sense as well, any function that's added to a project or a system or any endeavor is almost never in a silo. And what are those butterfly effects, so to speak, that are happening?
Okay, so when we've identified a new requirement and we've decided it's necessary, achievable, and measurable, and we're going to go for it, what do we do?
The very first piece is to put that into a project tracking tool. At Sunrise, we use Quick Start, and that allows us to not lose visibility of that new requirement. But we want to make sure, again, that we're tracking this, people feel heard, nothing's going unfounded or lost. As well, we want to make sure that we get this information into a steering committee deck, whether it's a project steering committee with core team members, executive steering committee. We want to make sure that this new requirement and this potential scope creep is heard, understood at all levels. And the third piece is that we want to make sure that we get any kind of change order and new expansion of budget or timeline identified into a change order, so that if this new scope is accepted, then we can activate this change order and execute on it immediately.
Now we know what happens when we say yes to scope creep, or new scope, basically. What happens when we need to say no?
Well, the first piece is that we want to make sure to balance our no's and our yeses. We want to keep those scales in balance, and really a large part of that is having compassion for our customers. This isn't a one-sided project. This is a joint project that we're all working on together to really get to the mountaintop. So when we do say no to any type of scope creep, it needs to be a fact-based decision. This has to be a no that's based on project health or company health, and then identifying that why. So there are facts and factual reasons why we'll say no, but again, the why is going to be the biggest reason, as well as to why we're saying no to this and what are the reasonings behind it.
That probably helps too, because when you come with a why, you take the emotion out of it.
Correct.
All right, bring it home for us, Alex. Any final thoughts?
One thing I really want to reiterate is that these scope creep discussions happen on every project and inherently aren't bad. On one hand, there are going to be yeses that are going to enhance the project and the customer overall. On the other hand, there will be no's that help us to avoid risk and hurdles that help us to get to our successful point.
So it's all about an open dialogue and partnership.
Exactly.
All right, catch you guys next time on Sunrise Compass. See you later. See you on the other side, Alex.
Always.